Hello, everybody. We're glad to have you here, John, with your zero. Glad that you came. Glad you came in along too, Shelby. And of course, we have Robert Powell with the FUV, the Fun Utility Vehicle from Arcimoto. And we'll be stepping out for folks online who don't know yet. We'll be stepping outside the doorway here because that is where the FUV is parked. So welcome everybody to the January meeting for folks online and folks in the room. And tonight we will be talking about the FUV, and then just as a heads up, next month and possibly the month after, we will be talking about conversions, and in particular to the benefit of a number of students that Eduardo has been working with at their school. And so that'll be coming up in February and March probably, just so folks know what's coming up later. So in terms of things happening in the news, most folks have probably been following the news, and they know that Chevy's going to come out with an electric Equinox, and there's going to be some other, I'm probably facing sideways here. Am I transmitting my video? No. Okay. Well, there you go. All right. We've got the room of folks here. Yeah. Down a little. All right, very good. Yeah, so that folks online can see folks in the room here. And for those who haven't heard yet, there are a group of STEM teachers outside. They also happen to have a meeting here tonight, and they're learning about the TXRX facilities. They're going to get a tour shortly. And we just told them about their good luck having run into us here, because they've said that they're very excited for their students that they have at their different school districts learning about electric vehicles. So it's kind of fortuitous, and those folks are going to be going into the room across the hall. And so once they clear the lobby area, then we'll go out there and look at the FUV. So we'll start in here, and then when we see that it's quiet out there, they're certainly welcome to, but I know that they also have their program. They've got their planned activities. So we might check with them as they're finishing up or something like that and do it separate from our meeting. We'll see. Or we can have them as part of our meeting, either way. But yeah, we're really excited to have the Arcimoto FUV here with us tonight. Some folks might have seen it either at our December holiday celebration that we had. Yeah, you can see some of the video that Arcimoto has put on their website. So I encourage everybody to go and look and see what kind of a great vehicle that they're building out there in Eugene, Oregon. And so it's really fantastic to see this now on the market. And I know Robert will talk to us about possibilities for sales and things, because I know you said it's a little complicated in Texas. Yeah, but yeah, beyond that, yeah, I think a lot of folks are excited about being able to buy one. And I know that they're planning on upping production and things like that as well. And so that will really help make them more available to folks. So, but just in general about the club, so we are still the Houston Electric Auto Association, but you know that the national organization has officially changed its name to the Electric Vehicle Association. So I've been putting both names on emails and things like that. At some point, we might want to talk about whether we want to change auto to vehicle. And of course, tonight's a good example that it's not really a car, it's a three-wheeler that is definitely an electric vehicle that a lot of people want. And so we can decide at some point if we want our Houston club to have the word vehicle in the name or not. But it's really exciting, all the different things that have been happening in the news. I started to mention that GM has announced an electric Equinox. And of course, they announced the electric Silverado pickup truck. And a little while back, Ford announced their pickup truck. And of course, earlier than that, Tesla announced their pickup truck, and they've since gotten their Cyber truck facility in Austin pretty far along, and they've told us that they're going to make the Model Y first, and then they're going to be producing that Cyber truck here in Texas, not too far away. So some of us all went over to Austin and went to the Electrify exhibit that was there not too long ago when, of course, some of us got a chance to actually drive the Arcimoto FUV. So we're really happy that they were out there in Austin. And of course, it's great that Robert is able to bring the one that they're letting him use here to us tonight. So if there aren't any other questions general about the club or anything like that, then I'll turn it over to you, Robert. And then, like I said, when we're able to, then we will go on out to, so this is, yeah, well, for the both of us.
Yeah. So those of you that don't know me, it's Robert Powell, and I think everyone in this room knows me. So I've been tapped by Arcimoto to be their representative here in Texas, the Lone Star Arcanaut, as they call me. And basically what it is we're trying to drive the Arcimoto mission here in Texas. And so part of that is actually getting it out and getting it available. The other part of that is with my engineering background, they've actually asked me to consult on some of the work that they've got to, improve it for the next generation. And I already know some of my changes have gone into the next generation already. So I'm very happy about that. So a little about the Arcimoto, for those that don't know, it's American made, American designed, American built. It's built in Eugene, Oregon. Let's see here. I was seeing if they had a picture of the ramp. There you go. So we'll start with this one first. So as you can see, basically the Western Seaboard and Florida. Actually, this map is not completely accurate. They've started to work on New Mexico. So we've got New Mexico. Obviously, the next one is Texas, and we're already working on that. So it's American design, American built, and it's designed around sustainability. So Mark, who is the CEO, he has the vision of urban unification, which is basically that, you got 20 or 30 vehicles on the road, and if you can eliminate them down to the point of just if you can bring it down to the point of just having the sorry, I'm looking for a certain video. There you go. That's Mark.
Paved over half the city, gridlocked around the world on fire. Wanted a light footprint electric vehicle, affordable, fun, and dialed for the everyday. We couldn't find it. And thus, Arcimoto, and a new platform for mobility. True electric motor, front-wheel drive with an early battery and a powertrain that sips electrons. We launched production of our flagship product, the Fun Utility Vehicle, in 2019. And from the response, we to the name.
That's Mark's mom, by the way.
Hey, Mark, what's up, buddy? Just want to let you know how much I enjoy blast. Chase me down and they were going to see it. Let me guess, you want one? My shares. At the onset of the pandemic, we launched the Deliverator to bring the benefits of Arcimoto's platform to last mile delivery of essential food and goods. The Deliverator's spacious storage suits a wide variety of fleet uses, Its svelte form maneuvers through traffic with ease and parks in spaces no full-size vehicle can.
And I will say the parking is absolutely amazing.
Money that flows directly to the bottom line. And we launched the Rapid Responder to help those on the
Okay, I'm just gonna stop it there for a second. So there's a couple of things in there. I mean, what? We don't want to talk about the first responders. Come on, you're on the screen. What more do you want? So it truly is a fun vehicle, and for those of you that have driven it, I'm sure you will attest that eating grin face that you make driving an electric vehicle absolutely is on that vehicle every single time. Sunday, I took it to go see a gentleman who's actually a reservation holder here in Texas. He's never actually seen one. He's never actually driven one. And he called me Tuesday afternoon and said, that smile is still on my face. Every time I think about it, I cannot help but smile. It truly is a fun utility vehicle. I mean, even Shelby will attest that driving it around is absolutely fun. But yeah, it's basically being able to take all those multi-ton vehicles that we don't need, that we're driving one person per, and condensing them into, what is effectively, a tandem configuration electric. It's designed for, you live in the Heights and you work in the Galleria. Granted, it's not designed to take it from Richmond down to the Galveston, but I will tell you, you could do it. I'd actually now hold the record for the longest time in the FUV seat on a single drive, according to Mark, at about 14 and a bit hours. So it definitely is fun. The top speed, they say it's 75. Realistically, production is limited to 80 miles an hour. If you actually get a tailwind and you get downhill and you're just in the right position, you can cross it to 85, but that's about it. But again, it's not the quickest accelerating. It definitely could accelerate faster. So I think 0 to 60 is like 7.5 seconds. But that's still reasonable. But also, from 30 to 60 is about 2 seconds. Because those dual wheels, those dual motors, both are incredibly accelerating at that speed. It's actually really fun when you take off from the light. 0 to about 20 is slow, and you're like, is this it? And then all of a sudden, about 20, 25, both those motors kick in, and both those meters will send you through the rocket. And about 3 seconds later, you're doing 80 miles an hour. So you've got to keep an eye on it. No, so that actually comes from the characteristic of using dual motors, because the drive, the current limiting drive on it is built that way. It's set for slow acceleration at the beginning to handle the batteries, and then as it accelerates further, it picks up, because the rolling resistance at that point just drops off, and you don't have to worry about that influx current anymore. You've actually now got that current load handled and shared out. So yeah, it's kind of a load management. That way you're not shocking the system, because they do want to make these reliable for a decent amount of time. Are they gone? Yeah. So I think, can everyone check and see if they can see my video? We'll go with it. Is it showing up, Dave?
It's not showing up on the Zoom.
So pull up my video feed. So pull that one up and then just click on Robert and just share from there. So pin that one. Yep. And then you should be able to, no, leave it back on the screen and just keep it sharing through the screen. There you go. That way at least people can be able to see it. So this is the Arcimoto, and yeah, Dave, quit doing that. So, you know, tandem configuration, which is one of the few vehicles that actually exists like that. The only other one similar to that, the also the side-by-side configuration. It does have a standard J1772 charger on it. One of the things that we are working on is getting the charge time down. So right now, the charge time is about 4 hours or so. And we are working on getting that improved to a 6.6 kilowatt charger. So that's one of the things we're working on is getting that improved. The battery can handle it. There's absolutely no hesitation in the battery being able to handle it. It's just strictly the fact that what they originally had when they designed it was, so they went with it. The nice thing as well is, so back here. It always helps when the wife steals the key and then she leaves it at the table. Yeah, so the battery is here in the tonneau, and it's basically a structural member all the way from midpoint all the way down to the back. It's a single-sided swing arm capacity, and so it's a standard disc brake with a parking brake for safety holdings right here. And then over the front, we have the two batteries, the two motors. Let's see what else. So the battery pack is a 20 kilowatt battery pack, and it's designed around, I think it's common knowledge, I'm not sure. It's 20 kilowatt battery pack. I was going to say the cells, and I know them, but I don't know if it's common knowledge yet. But back here is actually plenty of storage. So Shelby and I have both gone to HEB, and 14 HEB bags of groceries is about the limit. 14 bags of groceries. Yeah, in there. No, in this. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it says yes. I have pictures. I have proof. Oh no, I mean that was the, and that was it when we put it on the weight is 1,700 pounds, smack on, and it's classified. So everyone always asks, what's it classified as? So in our motorcycles, because they have the handlebars. So when they designed it, it was easier for them to classify as a motorcycle, and so that's what they did. In California, I believe that the cycle. However, in Texas, and this is where the problem lies, when the slingshot was introduced, it was actually introduced, and they very specifically in the bill wrote, it is a car. If it has handlebars, it is a motorcycle. What do you do if you got both? So that's the current question that we're waiting on we'll go with that. Horseless buggy, I think, would be the appropriate term for that one, but yes, the autocycle was one of the original. So Mark actually claimed, that the original version was a motorcycle as well. So it was interesting. One of the nice things I do like about it, and we've actually used this quite well, is the control panel here consists of a windshield wiper, of course, and windshield wiper fluid, heated front and rear seats, and the heated handlebars. And you may not think that heated handlebars and heated seats are a good thing here in Texas, but every motorcyclist will attest that they are a God-given amazing thing to have because they are great. Also, we have the parking brake, and then we also have all the different modes that are available. The modes are not currently implemented, but they are coming soon. Also, Bluetooth speakers, which actually do a really good job of keeping the sound. It's really nice to listen to music at 80 miles an hour and not have a problem. Added to it is my garage door opener, so I can get it back in and out of my garage when I need to. For everyone that asks, no, I don't have to use Fred Flintstone brakes. It actually has, full disc brakes all the way around. And no, I don't have to use Barney Rubble to reverse it. I actually have a reverse gear. And it will go just as forward. So, yeah, that's all the usual questions I get. Still one, yeah. But I mean, that one gear and that one acceleration, that's what you really need. So I actually would prefer 2 gears. I think 2 gears on it would be very interesting. It definitely have some acceleration to it. So yeah, I mean, and to sit in it is more than welcome to. I've got. They've already sat. This one, stolen it. So the display, no heads-up display. So the display on the strictly speed and battery life. So hold on. So go ahead and do me a favor. Put the key in the ignition there on the right-hand side. So right now it's a motorcycle license. Yep. So turn it out. I'm plugged in. That's why. So go ahead and rotate it, and then rotate it back. There we go. Hey, now we're live. So brake. Test. Yeah, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna leave this in neutral so you can't take off. So the screen there will show speed and odometer as well as battery. And then configuration on the light there, so you can control your lights as you need, either a high beam, a low beam, or a standard beam. You've got your hazard warning lights as well, as a standard. And then you've got your horn, which I don't want to piss anyone off. We have a standard turn signal indicator here. And so just like a standard motorcycle, you've got that there. And then to the right-hand side, we have the engine kill, the KERS. I can't with it. I need it to. And so you got KERS on the right, and then you've got your forward, neutral, and reverse indicator on the right as well. So just like a normal throttle, you would it would go. So that's the regen. That's KERS. So that is actually the real brake. braking with the KERS before you actually have to use it. So, all right, let's go back into the room. Clunk. So turning radius is less than 6. So you can turn in your own radius. And it trust me, it takes a little bit of doing, especially with the non-fly-by-wire that it is right now. But when the new fly-by-wire comes out, it'll be well worth it. So it'll yeah, independently driven, independently set. So yeah, I'm going to start my video here. That's what it is. No, it's independent motors, independent outputs. Yeah, and yep, they're not coupled together. They are strictly simplified. Yep. So, so the motors are made by SME in Italy, as well as the controllers are SME controllers. So, I mean, those are. No, if it's Alpha Remote, then that means we every 5 minutes. So I can't disclose that. Ask me after the meeting. Yeah. So handling wise, it's actually really stable. Let's pop it inside because I don't want to disturb them anymore. We've been yelled at enough times today. No, it's charging. So for handling wise, it's really nimble, really agile, and really nice around corners. There's not much as far as location charging wise that you cannot move yourself through. There's getting through the streets and getting through the traffic is definitely easily done. A little too easily sometimes. But the thing is, it literally rides like it's on rails. It will not deviate. It's actually really nice for swinging back and forth through traffic. So. I think we're being yelled at again. Yeah, that was the tangent I went on. Yeah, I mean, from a motorcycle point of view to the FUV, it handles just as well as a motorcycle would. Being twice the size and twice the weight. And I will still attest that I do lean a shoulder every once in a while when I'm coming through a corner, thinking that I can get that extra 1 degree of lean out of it. So yeah. Yeah, so we in fact, the first week that we had it, we actually took a trip to Galveston. So for those that don't know, I live in Richmond, which is nowhere close to Galveston. But we took 59 to 6, and then we took 6 all the way down to Highway 3, 288. And then 288 to Tanger Outlet. Tanger Outlet was the last charge that we made before we crossed into the island. And then we went to the Hotel Galvez, and we actually charged at the Hotel Galvez in their charging bay there, which is a Blink charger, which was the only charger on the island that actually was open. All the rest of them were either blocked, or they were down, or they were out of commission, or anything. And so when we were charging at that one, they also charged us. It was, I want to say, like 32 cents a kilowatt hour to charge, and we needed almost a full charge. So we were there for quite a while. And that's part of the why I'm there to help Arcimoto is actually to improve the charging system and to improve the setup for it. So, but yeah, 14 hours total drive time, 219 miles, I think, total round trip. 7.5 of that was on charging alone. In between, charging it. Where do we charge first? No, next one. Pearland. Yeah, we stopped at Pearland Town Center. There was a Volta charger there. They were actually the saving grace on the way home, is that we needed a massive charge on the way home as well. So we stopped and we got dinner while we finished up a charge and, then headed home. So, but we literally crammed in on the last electron as we were coming in. So, yeah. Oh, so his question was, the chargers in Galveston, they were down or out of service. Yeah, I mean, there's not many chargers in Galveston to begin with. There's only a handful, and the few that we were actually able to get to that weren't behind locked doors were either down or broken. So, and I had a field day going through PlugShare and reporting them on broken, down, iced, broken, down, iced. And then it was blocked by an internal combustion engine. Yeah. So
those situations when it's iced, of course, you hope that it resolves itself. Whereas in the case of being broken, then somebody needs to come out and fix it.
I mean, the thing is, so if I find an iced one, usually I'll wait a little bit. Like example, we were at the Christmas dinner here a month ago, and was a Volta charger just down the road. I sat there and I went because I needed a charge to get home. I'd been having a little bit too much fun coming down to the Christmas dinner and had used a little too much electricity, and then giving joy rides to Dave and burned quite a bit more electricity. And so on the way home, I needed that charge, and I couldn't make it without it. So I ended up waiting, and there was actually I want to say a Kia Stinger or something in one of the charge bays. And then there was a Tesla in the other bay. Well, the Tesla wasn't plugged in. He was just Tesla hogging like Tesla hogs do. And then of course the Kia one was just sitting there. And so I waited and I was like, I need a charge. There's one other possibility for charging along the way home. But I'd like to get a charge here if I could, because there's a restaurant here I can get some food. And so we sat there for a little bit, and the Kia owner came out. And so very politely, I went up to the Kia owner and I informed her that, he was parking in an electrical vehicle parking spot. Now, I will say the one nice thing about the Arcimoto is that because of how small it is, so for clarification, it is 5'8" wide and 9.6 foot long. So it's quite small, quite handy. You see guys' pants there. That's not the right picture I want, but look at the deliberator. And we'll talk about the first responder in a minute. So as you can see, from this, it's very small, it's very nimble. And the great thing about that is you can in fact move it around. So I could have got around the Kia Stinger, but then I would have been blocking him in and he wouldn't have been able to get out. So being the nice person that I was, I waited until he came along. Lovely couple. They didn't know that they were in an EV spot. So a little bit of education went a long way. And they now know that, hey, they can't park there just because it's a front row parking space. People actually need that charger. So hopefully they learned their lesson. And to them, I say thank you for getting out of my way so I could go get a charge. So I will talk about the first responder really quickly. Not that I want to, but I will. So the first responder was a version of the FUV that was put together by Arcimoto strictly to deal with a first response capability. It's tried out in Oregon. They use it. Two of the fire departments there, I believe, have first responders on station. And it's perfect for the quick accessibility of having a certified operator on standby and a certified operator on location quicker than a big truck. They are there to assess the situation, to determine what other resources, if any, are needed. If there's a jogger that's just fallen down, then they may be able to take care of them, give them some fluids, and send them on their way. But if it's something more than that, then they would call in another truck or another responder. So it's a really cool truck, and I personally like the siren that's on it. It's it's incredibly loud siren. I'll give you that. So what are they doing now? So Arcimoto operates on a rental-based property, a rental-based premises policy, and their rental-based policy is that set up or charging rental locations, set up in Florida, San Diego, Oregon, Arizona with GoCar, Washington State, not DC, and who am I missing? I don't think I'm missing anywhere from the map. Oh yeah, Nevada. And you can go to any of the rental locations and you can say, I want a FUV, and you can either have it by the hour, the day, the week. I do believe they offer extended rental agreements as well for extended duration amounts. Or you can just straight up buy them in those states, as those are states that you can straight up just buy them. If you notice, Texas is not highlighted in blue. And that's because that's part of the problem that we're working on, is because we do not have a dealer license and we do not have a rental location here in Texas. We cannot sell. It's the same problem that Tesla has about having, not being able to sell in Texas. And that's part of what we're working on with Congress, is actually trying to get that passed in the next legislation. Tesla and a bunch of the EV associations are trying to get that passed so that they do have that ability to sell. That's outside of my scope and purview, and I want nothing to do with the litigation on that one. So that's as far as I'll go on that one. I've got it here in Texas because they needed someone to do some PR work for them and some media relation work, and that's part of why I've got it here, and that's why it's come to events like this. So, did you have a question? Yeah, we don't know how that happened. All of a sudden, there was a blue dot on Florida, and all of a sudden they had a rental location in Key West, and then there's another rental location in Miami, I believe. I believe that came from the partnership with GoCar, being able to do that. So, I mean, it's a good thing. It's one less state to worry about, and probably for the majority of the population in Florida that would be driving it, it's extremely easy for them to drive. So that's probably another thing as well. Touristy wise, it's a great little car to run around and muck about in. So, oh yeah, let's see what we got on the chat. Oh, nine comments. All right. Yes, we know it. All right, I will order you a second microphone. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. How's the crash rating? It's incredible. You crash it once and that's it. It's done. So it is, and I will pull up their official statement on it before I say that. So they actually have their official. So, I mean, it is NHTSA rated. I mean, it has passed NHTSA crash rating. Where is it? By the way, for those of you that are interested, February 2nd, no, there is no kids seats and no booster seats. And actually, if you look on the back seat of it, there's a very big circle with the booster seat and the child seat on it with a big line through it, crossing it off. So I can look up the official statement on that. But they are NHTSA crash rated, and they are set up for safety and certification. That was part of the requirement for them actually being able to sell, is that they had to pass that. Drag them along right behind. Wait, I didn't say that out loud. Never mind. There it is. I knew it was on here somewhere. So the official statement is that they build the safest vehicle, which is true. However, they've gained a little bit of weight. It's now close to 1,700, not 1,300. But they have improved it. There you go. That's what I was looking for. Federal motorcycle standards, according to compliant with 49, 571, 106, 108, 111, 116, 119, 120, 122, 123, and 205. So it's pretty much safe as all the other ones that are on the road. It also passes with, even though it's not subjected to it, it does actually pass most of the FMV SS and the roof crush resistance. So you can roll it over if you need to, but I would highly not recommend it. I might have missed it, but what is the display? So the display is a very simple display. The display consists of the speedometer, your battery charge, and your power meter in and out. As far as your infotainment, that comes from your cell phone. There is actually a mount on the handlebars that actually holds your cell phone, and with that you can do your infotainment from there. It does have Bluetooth speakers, which, as you've probably heard, are incredibly loud and work incredibly well. So that's that. So the target market is for the urban environment. So i.e. you live in the Heights and you work in the Galleria. You know, it's to deal with that, you know, instead of taking your 1,000-ton vehicle, you know, back in Starbucks to go get your latte, you take your FUV and you walk you 3 miles down the road and go get it. Having, as I said, I live in Richmond, and driving it back and forth to CVS, driving back and forth to Kroger's, you know, it is incredibly helpful. And for those of you that don't have it, you know, I said 14 bags of groceries. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to show the picture. Is that in frame? So that is the back of the FUV the other day when we were in HEB, 14 bags of groceries. And that's what it looked like after we got home and put it all on the counter. It's incredibly, you know, efficient for packing stuff away. And I don't want to hear anybody saying anything about what we had in the grocery bags. But it's an incredibly handy machine to run around with, to do those last minute mile errands. That's part of the reason why they created the Deliverator version, which is what actually one of the versions that came along because of the pandemic to deal and handle with last mile solution deliveries. There's actually a pizza company in Oregon, in Eugene, that actually uses it to deliver pizzas. So they actually took the deliverator version, put a hot box in the back, and actually used that to deliver pizza. And it's incredibly, useful for that. I've heard of people in Florida that actually own them, actually doing Uber Eats and Uber delivery as well, because of the fact it has so much space, they can just do that. So. So the new factory, I'm glad you mentioned the new factory. So part of the ramp up and expansion was the fact that they built this new factory, literally just down the road from the old factory. They've been landing machines in there like crazy, and ramping up and being able to do it. So much so that Mark has actually asked for a media event on February 2nd, 2022 at 2:22 and 22 seconds in the afternoon. I can't think why he chose that day, that time, that minute, that second, but I'm sure he has his reasons. But it is going to be basically a walkthrough and press show of the actual new factory itself. I've been lucky enough to see video of the new thermoplastic forming machine that they have installed there, as well as some of the new robotic features that they've got installed there. And it's incredible. The work that is happening there is absolutely incredible, and it's really nice to see. So hopefully, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're going to ramp it up to 500 a day in the final production, or close to that. But it's gonna be 500 a month. Sorry, I think. Don't quote me on that one. But it's about 500 a month, I believe, in final production. So. And yes, they are in production. I believe that Nefertiti out there is number 7 in the final production phase. So it's a great vehicle. I love it. I know for a fact that further improvements are already in the works. So one of the great things that Mark has a vision of is a fleet of autonomous FUVs. And this was demonstrated actually in Portland, at the Portland show October last year. So they've actually been working with a brain trust there that actually has, and they're the same guys that actually gave us the torque vector steering control that came from it. And part of that, was the lead up because they needed the autonomous control. And so the autonomous control comes from the fact that they've now got this brain trust on there. Where you would use the app, you would summon a FUV to your location, the FUV would show up and you would see it and you would take off and you drive it as you need. You get to the grocery store, you hop out and you say release, and it goes on to the next one. And then when you're done shopping, you summon another one and it comes to you and you drive it home or drive wherever you need. It's a really great concept. I like it. I think it would do amazingly well, especially like here in Houston for urban summoning and whatnot. Kind of like Uber for autonomous, but of course, no driver. You don't have to worry about that. So I'm sure there's logistic hurdles that need to be got through first, or legal logistic hurdles that need to go through first. But the software and the hardware is getting there to the point that it's actually almost ready. So, and I've actually seen it running. Purchase in Texas. The $1 million question. No. Next question. So part of that comes from the fact that we legally can't even drive them here in Texas right now, because we can't register them on the roads, because we can't purchase them. We shouldn't be able to register them. And that comes from the fact that the dealer network, and well, the fact is there is no dealer network for it. But there is no dealership here in Texas. And the part of that is that we are working on getting the legislation changed so that we can actually get it here to Texas and registered in Texas. And therefore we can then sell it in Texas. Everyone always asks, how much is it? Well, let's play a game. How much do you think it is? Shelby, John, you're excluded from this because you already know the answers. So it's 17,000 plus or minus. So when you go to configure it, the base configuration sits at, it's either 17 or 18. I want to say 17. And then from there, you can add doors, because that's always the second question that I always get asked is, can I have doors? Yes, you can have doors. They are either the bikini half style doors that go to the midway, or they can actually go the rest of the way up with fabric. Mine did not come with the doors because I literally got handed the keys and said, here, take the 5, go, bye. So, and then you can also add additional things like the heated seats and the heated grips are standard. The Bluetooth is standard, but you can do the color options. So that's one nice thing actually about it, is because everything on there is designed as a multi-piece, multi-facility piece, you can actually customize everything. For example, Nathan Fillion from the TV show The Rookie, he actually has Arcimoto #1. He's actually brought it to the set multiple times. Mark delivered it to him. It was painted in a dark blue frame with a gray, black, and blue, dark blue chassis covering. So the plastic is painted 3-tone colors, and then the actual hoop structure is painted in dark blue, and then the underside is painted white, per his request, and that was done. It was one of the great things about it is you can customize every single panel. So if there's something specific that you're going for, you can have it. I actually saw some really, really cute ones when I was in Oregon. There's actually a fully white one with a pink shell. And then the significant other is that there is a white shell with a pink hoop. I wonder if they're related. So, did you have a question? They are looking at all expansion probabilities. I know for a fact they've gone down to Brazil, and there's actually a huge market for them down in Brazil. I'm sure that they are also looking at going north to Canada and exploring north in Canada. But I think that's part of their structure, is to conquer the US first and then, expand past there. There's also been some interest from the Middle East over there, as well as, I believe, Russia as well. So. So have I, because it's not legal to drive here in Texas, have I been allowed to, have I been stopped? I have been stopped. More often than not, it's to ask the oblivious question of, what the heck is that? Is it road legal? Yes, it is road legal. How do you know? Well, I have it registered in Eugene, Oregon. That's good enough for me. Have a nice day, sir. And then, it's the obligatory questions there afterwards of, how far does it go? How fast does it go? Is it safe? Is it, handle nice? All the usual questions that everyone asks. So. What class of vehicle does it fall under? So the answer to that one is, it depends on the state you're in. So in Oregon, it is classified as a motorcycle. And in California, it is classified as a motorcycle. However, in Texas, the way that the rules are written and the legislation is written, if it has a seatbelt, it is classified as a car. If it has handlebars, it is classified as a motorcycle. So what do you do when you have both? No. That was actually part of the safety standing, that we actually had to have those on. And that's part of the reason why we did get the safety rating that we did. And so because of that, we can't take the seatbelts off. And it wouldn't, from a manufacturing point of view, we don't want to make multiple vehicles, or they don't want to make multiple vehicles that would then, confuse the production line. It's easier to make them all as one. So, but I will say that the seatbelts are really nice to have on. Very nice. Coming from the guy that rides motorcycles, I would say I know that. I believe the answer to that is no. The question was, if he goes to Washington to ride it, can he ride it without a motorcycle license? I do not believe so, but I believe that there is an exemption that they have where you can ride it with your car license. and you can actually rent it with your car license. I'll check into that, and I'll send Dave a message in response to that. 2 questions. What about a Texas version with a steering wheel or a yoke somewhere in between handlebars and steering wheels? Really confuse those poor bureaucrats. Trust me, I'd love to. No, again, it comes down to manufacturing. We don't want to have, more than one setup. Well, they don't want to have more than one setup on the assembly line. So that's part of that as well. So I'm sure that Mark has thought of that, and I will pass that on to him. So because we love confusing poor bureaucrats most of the time. What do you got, Dave? Yep. No. I've brought that up before. It goes back to the engineering triangle. You can have good, you can have fast, or you can have cheap. You can't have all 3. Because of the fact that it is structured around that 20 kilowatt battery pack. It's designed to stay there. If we go any bigger, then we take the weight penalty, and then we have a range penalty. It also increases the cost. That's part of the thing about it is designed with that low cost option. That's also part of the reason that Monroe and Associates was bought in, is to actually reduce that cost. So with the new facility being spun up, the plan is actually to get the price below 12K. And that's part of why Monroe and Associates was brought on, to actually bring that cost down. I've actually seen the outcome of that in the fact that the front piece, so on the piece that I have, it's a 3-piece shell that's bolted together. Part of the new facility, one of the new robotics that I've seen is actually a single piece casted mold of the whole entire front assembly wing. So the left panel, the right panel on the front is now molded as one giant piece. It's a cost savings, I think, of an astronomical value that they bought about it. Also now, instead of having multiple bent pieces then welded together, they're actually doing more robotic bending to actually bring more pieces together instead of welding them and then welding them post process. So I can't mention the battery voltage. That's not open knowledge. Ask me later, I'll tell you. So I will say that it is a level 2 charger capable. So, and that's part of one of the reasons. So right now it's got a 3.3 kilowatt charger on board. And that's part of the reason that I'm there, is to help them out, bring it to a 6.6 kilowatt charger. So right now it's currently charging a 120. So too long. Too long. About 12 hours from a full dead. It's ridiculous. And Mark has even said that is his own biggest Achilles heel, is that charger on it right now is just ridiculously underpowered for what it is. And we are actively looking at better solutions. The goal is to get it under 1 hour for a level 2 charge from full dead. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So let me just recap this question, because in case you didn't hear it. So he belongs to the Vancouver Electrical and Reversal Association, and in Vancouver, a lot of it is apartment dwelling and apartment residency. And because of that, they only have basically 120 volt, accessibles. It will charge on 120 volts. I'm not saying it won't. But part of it is it's also limited just by the fact it's 120 volts. at most you're going to have 120 volts at 15 amps, well, 8.8 amps realistically. And that will limit you to just over 3.3 kilowatts, give or take. 1.8, 3.3, somewhere around there. I mean, you can do 1.8 safely because that's what I'm currently charging on right now. You can take it up a little bit to about 2, but they're programmed mostly for 1.8. But that's part of the reason why for right now for the 3.3 kilowatt charger that we have is it half throttles basically for current usage. But I mean, to that point, you know, I will say that the 120 volt charging is doable. It's just like your cell phone. You plug it in, you go to bed, you wake up, and it's fully charged. As long as you plan to get a full 8 hours, as you should every night. If you're like me and you only get about 3.5, 4 hours, you may be in a little bit of trouble. But that's part of, you know, one of the improvements that we are actually working on is getting that improved. Yeah, and that's part of also getting the on the upgraded charger on there is to get that 120 volt slow charge on there as quick as possible, to reduce that time. It's going to still bring it, you know, to 10 hours for a full charge, but if you can get, you know, 5 miles or maybe 10 miles to get you down to that 240 volt charger to get you that hour-long fast charge, then that's the point of it. So no. So DC fast charging, as far as I know, will never be considered because of the voltage structure. DC fast charge, everyone, I love this question because everyone always says, oh, well, just put DC fast charge on it. You can't do that. DC fast charging, the requirements for DC fast charging is it has to be 400 volt architecture or better. So that kind of answers your voltage question, I think. But part of it is also, you know, that 400 volt architecture, the systems that you have to have now in place for safety aspect become astronomically expensive. Yes, you have an increased voltage, but at the same time, you know, going back to your basic electronics, Ohm's law, you can if you increase your voltage, that's great. You now decrease your amperage, you now decrease your resistance. Sorry, yeah, by the square. But at the same time, you also have increased your cost. So you can either increase your voltage and, you know, get everything you need, or you can increase your amperage, which is what they've chosen to do. So yes, it is a low volt system, but it's a high amperage system. And that was because, you know, those low voltage options are a much better option as far as cost efficiency. Something like the Tesla, which runs at well, I know the Plaid runs it on an 800 volt architecture, I believe. And then the Lucid runs on 800 volt architecture. The Lightning will run on a 900 volt architecture. And a couple of the other ones now coming out are also 900 volt architecture. But the higher voltage architecture, yes, you can DC fast charge those because the cells can handle that abuse. Low voltage like that, they cannot. So the standard for, you know, old DC fast charging and voltage architecture is 400 plus. So Plaid is 400, Lucid 920. Thank you. I appreciate it. I thought that Tesla hadn't gone to 800 on at least one of their models. Jason? I didn't think so. Okay. I thought I read somewhere. By the way, speaking of which, I do know that the one, which I will send Dave the link to it, they actually managed to get 720 miles on a prototype Tesla battery. So it's all good. Thank you, Jason. Yep. So I will answer that question with, you know, another statement. So last Saturday, when it was absolutely pouring it down, I went out for a ride. Ask my wife how insane I am. The most I had was a little spot on my leg like this. And for those of you that can't see, that's how big I'm talking about. So the doors are actually very well protected. The biggest problem is that they aren't actively manufacturing them for most of the vehicles right now, because most of the people aren't asking for them. Actually, if you go to the Arcimoto Facebook group, there's actually a bunch of pictures from the other day when they were all snowed in. They all took the FUVs out in the snow, and there's snow packs basically in the back of the FUVs, which was absolutely incredible to watch. And they're well packed it in. So, but yes, to answer your question, they are actually very watertight. I wouldn't go through a river with them, but they'll keep you dry. Yes, go faster. The military, I believe, was considering them at one point for driving around bases, but I do not know if that's still an option. So, know anyone that wants to talk about it? Because we can go talk to them. So I've had the FUV now for 6 weeks, 7 weeks. November. Okay, so 8 weeks then. It was the end of November though. Okay, so Thanksgiving then. So yeah, 8 weeks. And I've put approximately 2,500 miles on it in that time. You know, doing 300-mile round trips also doesn't exactly hurt, but also driving it around as much as I have to run errands also is quite helpful. So. State or federal tax credit. Any visibility issues from other drivers? I'll answer that second question first, and I'll come back to the tax credit. So true story. The other day I was driving along, and I was sitting there parked at a traffic light, and this elderly couple in a Ford Explorer was making a left-hand turn, and they made the left-hand turn, and both their heads were watching the FUV as they were driving around. They weren't looking where they were turning and nearly ran off the road. Does that answer your question for visibility? No, there's no visibility issues. You sit at a decent height. The biggest thing you get is people snapping their neck as to say, what is that? And why is it on the road? And where can I get one? As far as the state or federal tax credit, it is classified as a electric vehicle. I believe it does classify for the federal tax credit. As far as Texas does not have one, so no. Answer your question, Jason? Yes, but it doesn't work for, it does run out very quickly. But the new Biden administration's policy on it, I believe, exempted that. And I believe it is now actually classified as well for the FUVs. Don't quote me on that. Talk to a legal advisor before you do that. Yeah. Okay. So Texas dealer requirement for Texas plates, Texas credit. So no. I do know that Zero was able to get it. So I do not think that federal credit for 4 is accurate, because I got it for my Zero on 2 wheels. So, and John will get it for his as well. So I've slept since then. It would have qualified. Yes, it would. Just need to actually get that more accurately passed. So you would ask me the mathematical question. I know this in the back of my head, and if you ask me afterwards, we can do the calculation on it. So it is, I mean, if you want to do the math on it, it's a 20 kilowatt battery pack, and on maximum consumption, you'll get about 102 miles for fully charged. I believe it's 183 mega miles per gallon electric equivalent. If that 183 miles per gallon electric equivalent. So whatever that works out to. Jason, you are but a wealth of knowledge in the back of my ear. I appreciate that. Yeah, so the regen is really efficient. And my wife will attest to it. She's driven it many times. Of being able to drive it both to work and also, you know, being a female. I would not suggest driving it in a skirt, however. That may have severe implications. But it is definitely, you know, the regen works. You can do 99% of your braking on just the regen alone. With that last final bit, you know, just a quick tap on the brake to stop them, that last final bit. I do most of my driving around without even touching the brake. I've actually got to the point that I can actually either control it from sliding back by giving it just a little bit of throttle to basically keep the motors torqued to that point, or I can actually keep it from, you know, rolling back by, again, just having a light touch on the brake, but doing most of my stopping on the regen. I will say that the regen will stop you quickly. Once it actually fully engages, it'll lock you up pretty quickly. Range hit in cold weather. Oh my God, yes. I did a drive in 40-degree weather and I lost about half the battery pack. I do know for a fact though that in battery pack 2, that is being taken care of and fixed, but I can't tell you how. It's magic sauce. No, seriously, we went to Taco Bell and we went and got their red hot sauce and we smother it all over the battery. Works every time. Any preheating, active temperature control? No. They are induction AC motors, yes. 9.6 kilowatts. I know you're about to ask it. Ask me. Yeah, 9 kilowatt SME motors, AC induction type, with the matching SME controllers. So, a piece. Sorry, I had to understand the question. Without the temperature control, what is the impact to pack longevity? Not detrimental. They have built plenty of safety factors into the battery in itself. One of the things is you actually, there's 2 modes on the pack itself. There's extended mode and there's normal mode. So in normal operation, you have the bottom 20 to 30% reserved and the top 10% reserved. So you're actively sitting in that perfect sweet spot for longevity. You can of course extend that out, and that's where that full 100 miles of range comes in. If not, you're doing about 60 miles of range consistently. But the cold will hit you and you will get about 30 to 40 miles instead. Can the pack charge in very low temperatures without heating? Yes, it can. Go ask the people in Eugene, Oregon. They were doing it. It's not the best. They have definitely experienced issues with it, and that's part of the reason that the next generation battery pack will actually have some magic that will take care of that. Again, can't go into it. Yeah, SME in Italy. The greatest mileage. I believe that the test mules have over 20,000 miles of testing on them. I know that Mark uses his daily, and I would expect that it probably would be in excess of, I'd say 20 to 30,000 miles. There's definitely many miles on it. As I've got, 3,000 miles on it. The highest that I know that someone's put some mileage on it is about 8,000 miles in Florida. But again, that's the only one that I know of actively. So Oh, very, very expensive maintenance. Very, very expensive maintenance. It's the same maintenance as a Tesla. Put windshield washer fluid in, change the tires, and you'll be fine. So no, as far as maintenance wise, it's the same aspects as you would normally. The brakes do need servicing. The brake pads, need servicing. The tires do need, changing after they go bald. And then windshield washer fluid. That's it. So. So I have done some off-roading with it. It's definitely not a off-road vehicle. They do have a version. So down the street in Eugene, from Arcimoto, from the ramp, is a company called SherpTech. SherpTech makes flatbeds for UTVs. Mark happened to go over there one day and said, "Hey, we make this cool electric vehicle. Do you want to throw one of your flatbeds on ours and see what can happen?" And they said, "We'd love to." And so the SherpTech was born, and it actually has, basically they took the back seat, the passenger seat away, and they put a flatbed on it. It's a foldable flatbed. It's actually really, really nice. Let me pull up a picture of it. And you literally can fit a full mini no, I don't want the FUV. I want the SherpTech. Oh, they just call it the flatbed. It's actually the SherpTech. So there it is. And this one I know is actively being tried by a couple of so that's a nice picture of it. So that's no, same tire configuration, same everything. It's basically the regular FUV on just a flatbed version. So there it is there. I was hoping they had the video of it. So at the Eugene, Oregon event, they actually had the SherpTech, which is the only SherpTech in current production, and an F-150, I believe it was, sitting right next door to it. And they actually took everything that was in the flatbed of the SherpTech and put it in the F-150. And you would not think that it would have moved, but it did. As I said, I do know for a fact that there is a few of the state officials in the parks that are using it on the gravel tracks to run around because it does have that great accessibility. It's the same tires as on the street version. I've asked Mark personally, I'd like to see one with some 34-inch mud tires on there with a portal axle. But I was told no, at least not this week. Maybe aftermarket. Yeah, exactly. But again, it's also not my vehicle, so I can't modify it. Yeah. There's a lot of them in Europe. I mean, you can kind of see in that picture there. So the two wings expand out, and you get quite a bit of storage on there. I was actually really surprised at how much you can actually fit on there. We had 3 or 4 sets of coolers, side by side, and none of them had issues. I don't know what the load rating is. I don't think they actually say it either. Yeah. I think she was talking about the load rating on the flatbed. I think they did do a different spring package on it. Yeah, they don't actually have it on there, but I'll find out and I'll let you know. Fast enough. Yeah, exactly. The Texas way. Is the tire smushed? No. Well, in that case, keep loading it. It's a truck. I've asked if we can have one down here, but it hasn't shown up yet. So, but I think if I have any more toys in my garage, my wife may kill me. So, yeah. Yeah. So when the new factory gets built, they're going to first off, finalize the orders that they've made for reservation holders. Once they finalize the reservation holders, they're going to work on the additional orders that come in, plus the Sherp Tech. They actually make a really good. How many of you are cinematography fans in here? They actually make a version called a Cameo, where they've taken the back seat and they've 180'd it. So you have a backwards facing seat with a full Red Magic camera arm on the back. They've actually done some great, in fact, most of the cinematography that you see, like that, for example, is actually done with the Cameo. I've actually got to drive in the back of the Cameo, and I will tell you, it was a lot of fun. So, but that's one of the versions they're coming up with. They plan to bump the Deliverator and increase and significantly produce that because the demand is there. We just, right now, they can't produce them fast enough. So. Yeah, no, I think last call for questions online. I want to touch on one more really quickly. So this was actually the event in Portland. It's the Roadster. No, it was not stolen from Elon. It is completely different. If you notice, the O is different than the Roadster that Elon used. This is a full-on motorcycle chassis, and this is classified as a full-on motorcycle without any hesitation. Basically, they took the FUV, they took the roll cage, and they cut it off. And it is fun. There is a version of this one with a sidecar. Mark actually has his dogs ride along in the sidecar of the Roadster version. And it's actually really fun to watch it running down the road and see the dogs just having a great old time. So, but anyway, for those of you that would like to order one, they're a $2,500 reservation. You can do that now. They'll gladly take the reservation now and promise you delivery at some point in time. And I'll let you know when that is when I know about it. So. No, I mean, hopefully we're going to be able to sell them here in Texas. That's the goal, is to be able to sell them in Texas. Exactly the same hitch. Yeah, it's exactly the same hitch the Tesla's running into. It's the same hitch that Rivian is going to run into. Rivian's going to, answer it the same way that Tesla did, where you step off the property or you have a reservation already. That's the end of it. Lucid is going to have the same issue. All the big manufacturers, minus the big five, are going to have the same issue. Well, so the difference is the fact that they can't sell because they can't get a license for it. And because they can't get the license for it, they can't register it. Because they can't register it, they can't sell it. And it's this wonderful, never-ending circle of loops. Well, so you can buy them out of state and you can register them and bring them in, yes. But again, it's the same thing. Without having but like, for example, Rivian has the dealer licenses. So they've actually handed dealer licenses in Texas and, Arizona and Louisiana and all those. And they now have a property that they can deliver to. They manufacture out of state, bring it in, and therefore they can get around the loophole, same way that Tesla does it. But Arcimoto doesn't have that, and that's not their model, and that's not their plan. Their plan is not to have franchise locations all over the place that you can then go buy them from. It's that they would just ship it to you. But that's part of the legality that they're working through right now. So what John was saying was the fact that, the way the dealership model works here in Texas is the fact that you can make it in Texas, you can consume it in Texas, but first it has to go through a third party and then come back out of state and then back into state, which is, again, part of the problem that, Arcimoto is having. And it's the same that the other guys are having. They're all producing it out of state, so they're losing that first step and then coming back into the state. or coming to the state for the first time. So going once, going twice, sold for the lowest bidder. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And for everyone to have seen it and those that wanted to have sat down in it. I mean, that's great. So that the fact that we had the vehicle here with us today, I think was really good. So for all those folks online, you got to see and hear some about it, but you missed sitting in it. So
And if you want rides, let me know. I should have a pretty full battery pack, and I can think of a couple of roads out here that I really like.
oh, very good. Okay. So that
No, actually, this is the Arcimoto by the Yellow.
yes.
Public.
Yeah, I was noticing the shirt you're wearing there, Robert. Yeah, that's really unique. It's good that you have the Arcimoto shirt on today. So, but that's great that folks will be able to see you outside afterwards, and you'll drive it back outside the big garage door and into the parking lot, and so some folks can go for a spin with you on it. That's really good. So yeah. In the terms of vehicles, as I said, this is one of those new types of EVs that we love seeing out here, having been produced for people to, except for in Texas, to be able to buy. But I really would like to note again what Robert mentioned, that there are places around the country where you can rent them. So typically areas where there tourists might like to go for a jaunt or something like that. I guess you mentioned Key West and San Diego and some places. And so I think that's really great, because I've always thought that renting vehicles is a great way for people to get to know them. I mean, people have done that with the traditional car companies, Hertz and so forth. And of course, we've heard that Hertz is going to be getting a large number of electric vehicles. And I'm really hoping that a lot of the general public will be able to get their first experience with electric vehicle when they have an occasion to rent something. So, all right. So if we don't have any other questions, we will wrap it up. So this is being recorded, and thanks again, Colin, for always posting our videos. You can go to our website and find the link, or I guess you can just actually Google or go directly to YouTube, because that's where it ends up at, and look up the videos as well from our monthly meetings. So right. So a lot of people like to communicate through Facebook. So that's another route. And so you can get on to the listing and see when there's something new posted on our Facebook site. So there's always good news to share, and anyone can do that. So you can also be active as well as just passively seeing what other folks post, because all of us see different articles. I mean, it's exciting when we hear about electric airplanes and electric boats, as well as what all the car manufacturers are coming out with nowadays. And then sometimes we hear about different conversions that are being done. I like hearing about classic vehicles being re-engined, so to speak, so that somebody can take an older vehicle and we can all enjoy seeing it driving around on the roads, but they've cleaned it up from the original internal combustion engine that vehicle had. So conversions are always great. And so we're hoping that the students, with Eduardo's help, will be able to get their project going, which is something that we should be talking about in February and March. So if there's no other questions or news that folks want to bring up, thanks a lot. And Robert will be out there right next to the FUV. All right, thanks.